what?
Huh? What are those?
I didn't say that. First Amendment, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly. Yada. Well, of course, we don't even need to debate that one. They're violating it. Every law that they've passed to do something gun related is violating the Second Amendment. Another one that we don't need a debate about. There's no debate. The Third Amendment. No soldier shall in times of peace be quartered in any home without the consent of the owner, nor... Well, see, this is why it's important for Donald Trump to get that FISA thing passed, because, we need to be at war so we can violate your rights.
Also, I think that if you sort of look at the spirit of this law versus the letter of this law, when they passed the moratoriums on evictions, I think that was a violation of this, because they're effectively saying you don't own your property anymore. These people who are really, if you think about it in the terms of the Democrats are paying people to act as functional limbs of the corruption in the government. I'm paying you to sign these pieces of paper and pretend to be somebody that you're not so that I can pad the voter roll. If you think about it in that terms, the normal people are being used as soldiers, and now you can't even evict them when they refuse to pay their rent. And people have lost their houses because they couldn't afford their the mortgage. They couldn't afford their loan payments because they weren't being paid rent. And the only reason that was happening is because the government said you don't have to. So in a roundabout way, those people were being those soldiers were being quartered in houses that belonged to the individuals. So that one's been violated for the past 6 or 7 years. 6, 7. So dumb.
Yep. So Third Amendment, yes. Search and seizure. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, and papers, effective on their unreasonable searches. See, unreasonable search and seizure. That's the word that's the operative word right there. That's the one that you talk about when you make laws. It's like a guideline for them to find a way around it. That word unreasonable. They will just make anything seem like a reasonable search, so that they're not being unreasonable. I remember back in 2003, I saw a list of things that would get you flagged or whatever for potentially being unreasonable for being searched or something. And one of the things I read was buying a coffee with paper money. I was like, how else are you supposed to buy a coffee? Am I supposed to put that on fucking credit?
I think the term exigent circumstances is legalese for creating a loophole to violate this amendment.
So, unfortunately, like you said, that the country was founded on a sort of framework where we weren't expecting, and maybe this was the short sight, maybe this was an oversight by the founders, but when you say unreasonable search and seizure, it's like you're using a certain framework to basically give the definition to unreasonable, but that's not the framework that was being used when they started to violate these damn things. It's sort of like they started taking the language and manipulating it to mean something else. So now it's just we can basically make anything unreasonable or reasonable. It's reasonable for us to search you. You bought bubblegum last week from the store. Who buys bubblegum?
Yeah, and I think the moment that they started to twist that language was the moment that they should have revolted.
Yeah.
Yep.
But people were unaware, unfortunately. Even back then, when they were a bit more...
It's the frog in the pot theory,
Yeah, exactly. And it's small steps, little baby steps of maybe technically he didn't, have a warrant to do this, but he saw the guy behaving in a weird way, and once he got inside, they found a bag of cocaine. So I'm not really against it. And then now there's I'm brain farting on the word. Now there's the legal precedents to lean back on and be like, well, you let them do it. Why can't I do it?
Hello, Optimus Dan. How's it going?
What up,
Dan?
Optimus? Just before we go too much deeper, Joey is 6, maybe 8. I don't know. The thing's off the screen. Followers away from a huge milestone. If you are watching this, if you can hear my voice and you're not following Joey already, click that button. Help that man get over 900.
Or if you got... Or if you're streaming currently, nudge wink, and you want to command some of your followers to follow me so I can get to 900 so I can get over this hump so I can stop being insecure about myself, please, it would be totally appreciated. And make sure you hit the like button. And I command you. Like my stream, repost my stream, and follow the channel.
Tell them that Gilbert will give them clipped shekels for it.
Do it.
When you follow the channel, you get more experience points when chatting in here. And when you're a subscriber to the channel, you get even more experience points. So this is really pay to play. I'm really learning from my government. Fifth Amendment, grand jury, double jeopardy, self-incrimination, due process. Well, obviously, this one gets fucking violated every fucking...
All the time?
All the fucking time. We don't need it. That's another one we don't need to talk. Right to a speedy trial. Fucking,
only a guilty person would plead the fifth.
Or I don't know what the hell is going on, and I don't want to say anything that you guys are going to Jew your way around.
My favorite saying was, I plead the fifth, and I'll take another fifth to get it out of me.
Don't tempt them. They might IV you up, you know?
We just gave the lady what she wanted. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall have the right to a speedy trial. Well, they definitely didn't do this one for January 6th, so, I mean, they were...
This one is also relevant to the Charlie Kirk murder trial, because they're trying to say that Erica's right to speedy justice is being violated by Tyler's right to have proper information available and the reasonable time to put his defense case together. And the only reason why it's taking so long, because the defense is effectively saying we're not ready. And the only reason why they're not ready is because so the DNA that was pulled off of the towel and the screwdriver and the rifle was tested, and the machine basically is saying that there's like 5 different sets of DNA in it. Well, some of it does and some of it doesn't. But have you ever used, at least somebody that can hear my voice, probably you, Nora. I don't know if you've been in a fancy lab or whatever, Joey, but when you use a lab equipment to do a test, right, you have to calibrate the machine. So there's a certain set of data that's inside the machine that is directly from the measurement, but it's before it actually gets printed out. And the state is refusing to turn over that data. They're only showing them the already processed, printed information. And the defense is saying, look, we asked for this 6 months ago. This is standard protocol. And you're playing games pretending you don't know what files I'm talking about. So this one is relevant to today's court cases.
That is a thing that they actually pulled in suits. That happens all the time. Oh, we don't know what your file you're talking about. And then all of a sudden, some criminal defense attorney pops up with some evidence that they were supposed to present 6 months ago, and it was miraculously hidden in another file. They're like, oh, it was misplaced in another file. We don't know what you're talking about.
And that's exactly what the prosecution is saying right now. They're like, well, we don't know what files they want. But then they're also at the same time, it literally like in the same statement, they're saying, well, we don't actually have to give those files at this point in the case. They're going to find those under cross-reference examination. So if you know what legal parameters you're supposed to give that up in, how do you not know what files they are?
Exactly. They do it on purpose.
Okay, so this one is 6 is being violated right now in the Charlie Kirk murder case.
Yes.
And 7, jury by peers, and I think excessive punishment, right? That one gets violated constantly.
All the time.
Well, jury or your peers gets manipulated too to have dumb motherfuckers who are just going to rule in favor of you no matter what.
Yeah.
Be on your.
Not those people may live near me, but those are not my peers.
Yeah, excuse me. Number 8 is excessive fines. Yeah, that's excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, etc., etc. Yeah, that's another thing that they just use whenever at their discretion. Like they may there's like I guess no sort of guideline, but like there is a guideline, you know. They can just arbitrarily decide one's bail. I guess they do it based off of the crime, but it's never consistent, and it's never they can, again, selective enforcement of the law. This is the 8th Amendment is the one that they basically use to keep criminals on the street.
Did you see what Endel just said? He's right on that one as well. If it's the 8th.
As well.
Well, he made a joke that was pretty correct earlier, so this is number 2. He's saying like the fines that Alex Jones was given are excessive.
Right. Yes.
No, it's not excessive because of all the damage he did, is what they'll say. So they'll manipulate language any way they possibly can. Yeah.
They already do.
Yep. Non-enumerated rights retained by the people for the 9th Amendment. This is the enumeration of the Constitution. Certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
That one's violated every time, all the time. Even sometimes the enumerated rights, more than sometimes, but even the enumerated rights are violated because they misconstrue them.
And 10 is basically states' rights. So, yeah, that gets violated all the time, too. But I suppose there's a certain degree of number 10 when it comes to federal versus state on something that is a gray area. I guess it would have to be violated sometimes, right?
Yeah, I just think that like some things are not a gray area, but the state calls them a gray area, and also sometimes things are not a gray area, but the Fed calls it a gray area. So I would say this one is like California with and everywhere else making sanctuary states, violating immigration rules. Yeah. That's violation of this. That's not a gray area.
No,
right.
Especially when especially when you consider that your your electoral college votes and how much weight your state has in impacting federal decision-making power is directly correlated to your population, not your citizenship.
All right, so 11th Amendment, I don't...
The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States citizens of another state.
Yeah, I don't really...
that one... I think this one is stacked right on top of the immigration violations because...
Yep.
If that, and that's why the immigration laws are valuable and necessary, because we can't go to Venezuela and say you guys violated American law,
right?
So they can't be you can't be commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state. So, like, the people that are, let's say you're in California, you doing something that theoretically would violate Texas law, Texas can't come sue you for it. Or another foreign state. So, like the Venezuela example. Yeah.
Right. All right, so...
But then even that one has gray areas where, like, they take children from Texas and move them to California, and California says, that's not a girl, that's a boy. We're going to cut her tits off, and Texas can't do anything about it when they kind of should be able to.
Right. So, I mean, does this one get violated? I feel like this is a interesting amendment now. Like, the more that we're talking about it, I'm like sort of wondering the state aspect of this, like you said.
I think the state violating it against another state, and I'm speaking lowercase s, not the state as in the federal state. I think state to state, it more or less gets protected. But when it comes to the feds violating it against members of another foreign state, it doesn't get protected.
This seems like a weird... what year was this one passed? This seems like a sort of a weird...
I can't squint that hard. I don't know.
It's not saying. This is actually a pretty shitty list, but it was the only thing that was not bogged with ads, so I went along with it. But so this almost feels like it's protecting other states, I guess, with their sovereignty, right? I guess on paper is how one would see it. But then there's that loophole of fleeing a state to go to another state to violate somebody's rights from that other state, and it's almost like giving them protection for that. So that's interesting.
And I think that the proper solution, like just to to keep it concrete, the proper solution to the one that I described, where like a kid is taken from Texas to California so they can trans them, the proper solution to that would be you just kidnapped that child to go violate their rights. But that leans on the fact that that child has the right to bodily autonomy, and at least to the point where you can't mutilate a fucking child and call it, well, they said they wanted it. Well, they wanted to put their fucking finger in an electrical outlet too. Did you violate their rights by putting a plastic plug in the electrical outlet when they were 2?
No. The 11th Amendment was passed by Congress on March 4th, 1794, ratified 3/4 of the states in February 7th, 1795, and it was officially declared part of the Constitution on January 8th, 1798.
So they got this one in quick. They're like, oop, we forgot that. They should have done that with central banking too.
I imagine that this one was at least, I'd have to read into the history more, but I imagine this was in part related to the northern states trying to charge the southern states for violation of human freedom rights. I might be wrong on that.
It makes sense though, considering that at the time.
I think Fishy agrees with me. What was it, like 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, 9 months ago, when I kept talking about how it's time to start tarring and feathering these fucking politicians?
Right.
Yeah, I stand by that. We should do that.
Floor canings again.
God, yeah, literally. Like, these guys got to be afraid of the people, and it should not be. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for like political assassinations. I do think that holding your politicians accountable should not be stopped by the law enforcement, because if they're going to violate your rights to that degree, and the law is written such that you can't actually stop them from violating your rights because they finagled through the legalese avenue that was left open, what other option do you have other than revolution?
All right, so we put that one at like a half, I suppose, because it's almost set up. I guess the way it's used now is like it's sort of set up for their advantage. The electors shall meet their representative states. So this is basically just like the modern day voting stuff that we have, where with the electors and shit. I guess it's okay, I suppose. I understand the reasoning behind it, and I'm not exactly against it. Do they violate this? Well, that depends on, do you think our elections are secure and free?
That's a good point. I would say yes, because technically, as it is, the electors don't actually have to vote the way that the populace voted.
Right. They should be required to.
Right.
And then there's some states. Well, I guess when you talk about violation, aren't there some states that like we should have if we're going to have a constitutional amendment about electing the president and the vice president, then there should be one set of voting rules for federal elections, and a state shouldn't decide to say, well, we're not going to vote for this candidate. They did that thing where they said we're not going to vote for this candidate if they lose the popular vote, because they were anticipating that Donald Trump had an opportunity to win an electoral vote, but he might lose the popular vote. So that sort of gives them like anywhere from like 6 to like 20 points that they can sort of flip if they wanted to. But he ended up winning the popular vote, so it didn't pan out. But a state shouldn't be allowed to do that if this 12th Amendment exists.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one, because on the one hand, it's like if the masses vote for something that is clearly unconstitutional, you should not support it. Like, that's Marbury versus Madison, 1803. All laws repugnant to the Constitution are null and void.
That's your favorite landmark case.
It really is, bro. Like, it really is. If only we actually had like judges that and like Supreme Court judges and every level of judge that leans into that. If only we had that happening and they were using that as the legal precedence, we wouldn't have most of the problems that we have today.
Yeah, but they didn't. But they were thinking about muskets.
I mean, sure, but like when I'm gonna use a silly example that gets enforced kind of a lot around where I'm at. if you have the freedom to travel the lands without license or permit, then why is it that I'm not allowed to walk along the side of the freeway without getting arrested? Why is it that, like, I know the arguments against some of this stuff, and maybe there's some nuance.
I gotta feed this cat; he won't stop.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Like, if the government says, if the Constitution of your state, of the nation, says that you have the right, like California, right? We have in our California Constitution, it says that we have the right to fish the lands and fish the waters and hunt the lands without permit. But if you try to do that, there's you've all probably seen the video of the like 12-year-old kids who Fish and Game, or I think it was Fish and Game, out of uniform, off duty, shows up and says, "If I see you here again, I'm gonna blow your heads off." Like, they have the constitutional right to do that, and yet the people who have been told, "Hey, go stop them," believe that their instructions from their boss supersede the constitutional rights that are established. And really, like, the bottom line framework with the Constitution is that the Constitution doesn't actually give you any rights. It establishes restrictions on the government itself violating your rights. So, I mean, when we really think about it in the way that it was designed to be written, the violations are running rampant. And I kind of get it, right, in the sense that the right to fish the waterways and hunt the lands is designed to make it so that you can feed your family without having to pay somebody else. And what winds up happening in practice is that people start fishing the waterways unchecked to the point where the population collapses as they're trying to make a business off of that. But that's not, it wasn't established so that you can make a business. That rule is supposed to be making it so that the people can feed themselves.
We have that massive conflict up here all the time, especially with the fishing industry and the hunting industries versus the subsistence fishing and hunting. And there is a fine line, and they actually have it very, very, very well written in the state of Alaska that shows this is what we consider subsistence and this is what we consider commercial. And they keep it completely separate for those reasons, because if you're going to commercialize it and you're trying to make a profit on it, they're going to have different regulations for you versus the subsistence, because they are, again, this is a way of life. We're not going to take that away from you, but you should do it responsibly. So again, we've got those regulations and rules up here.
Yeah, and I completely understand and I agree with that mentality. If we consider the land, right, the land of from sea to shining sea, right, if we consider that to be like communal property, right, which is really the way that it's actually supposed to be framed, it belongs to us and the government is just kind of like the caretakers of it, right? If we look at it that way, then if I turn it into a business, technically you should get a cut out of my sales, right?
Meh.
Because if it's also your fish that I'm catching to go sell to Bob, maybe not Bob, but like Chang, then I'm actually stealing from you in a roundabout way to personally enrich myself.
Yeah.
So, like, there's nuance, but those types of things, if you extend that, right, now the state is earning a profit off of selling me a license because I want to go take one deer a year.
Yeah, but again, for us, it's more of, hey, we're going to process this application for you. We'll allow you to go hunt your one deer or however, hunt your limit. But we want to make sure that you're doing it properly. So that's how they can monitor you too. And like Fish and Wildlife and Fish and Game up here, oh, good Lord, they got perches in trees. Like, these mofos will sit up in a tree with binoculars and count how many fish you pull out the water. They watch what you're doing, how you're doing it, and they have no problem going up to you, seizing your property right then and there. And depending on like how severe of like an offense you do, I have seen them actually take the person's fishing pole. I saw them take their boat. I saw them take the truck. And then they even said, "We're coming for your house."
Yeah.
Because apparently this dude was like a multi-offender.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, so this was like serious consequences because he had been caught several times before doing things that you're not supposed to do. So
and Fish and Game has more authority than the other police. Like there used to be a TV. I say used to be. There used to be a TV show, like within like let's say 2 hours of where I'm at is where they filmed this, where it was basically cops, but it was Fish and Game. And they have the right to take a knife to your vehicle seats to look for animal, fish that you tucked away or whatever. And they actually, there are limits though, because that whole show got shut down and they got fined heavily because they weren't even Mirandizing people when they were arresting them. And it went pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, there's a fine line there between, and what is Endel saying? Was that Endel? The commons. Yeah. There's a fine line between us utilizing the commons and us abusing each other by means of the commons. And there's got to be a line there. But if the Constitution specifically says you have the right to fish and hunt without permit, then it's being violated when they make you get a permit. So I don't necessarily see a problem with the regulation on that, but I shouldn't necessarily have to get a permit to do it. You should be watching people who are violating the terms of the free use, and then you have to have a permit to collect enough to sell. You know what I'm saying?
Did you guys read what Brooke said about the 11th Amendment?
No, I was ranting. What does it say?
She said the 11th Amendment was to limit federal court jurisdiction by preventing private citizens from suing a state in federal court without the state's consent.
Say that one more time.
So basically, if Dad in Texas wants to sue Los Angeles or California for allowing the mom to escape with the kid, he needs Texas's backing to do so. He can't just sue California on his own. Is how I'm interpreting it. She'll tell me if I'm wrong, most likely. I was ranting. Put that on a shirt. Can you repeat that, bro? I was ranting.
If I stop to read the chat, I lose track of my rant. So I just kind of roll with it until it's out, and then I'll look back.
So, do they violate the 13th Amendment? Yes, because they're debt slaves. Yes. If they want to play with words, I'm going to play with words too. We're slaves to the system. Can we operate without the system? No, because we are slaves to them. We owe them money. Why do we owe them money? Because they made us owe them money.
Like you said, Joey, white-collar crimes.
White-collar crimes, yeah. We're slaves to the system. We owe them money. Why do we owe them money? Because they said we owe them money. So that's slavery, right? I'm not even, playing with word definitions here.
No, it's true. 100%.
Do we have to do this? Yes. All right, we're slavery. So we're slaves. It might be a more luxurious type of slavery than one might be used to, but a slave is a slave nonetheless.
Like I said, we live in a beautiful gilded cage. It's a very, very beautiful, shiny, but we still live in a very gilded cage.
Yeah, but at least from 1913 until the mid 70s or 80s or whatever, for the most part in this country, we were still shining the walls of the gilded cage, and now they're getting grimier and grimier as the years go by.
They're definitely tarnished.
14th Amendment is one that they break all the time because they're very all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. So this is the one that they use to justify anchor babies.
Have you seen that sounds gross. They're kids.
No, they can get the hell out of my damn country.
More like fuck anchor parents.
Fuck off.
Are you sorry, I couldn't help it. It was autopilot. Have you seen the discussions about this in the discussions that were happening before this was signed into an amendment? Have you seen the discussions that explicitly say that it was not ever this is not to be construed to make a citizen out of a foreign dignitary visiting that has a child here?
Yes.
And now we have fucking Chinese diplomats that are like, oh look, I've paid 100 American women to have a surrogate baby, and now one of my fucking kids is going to be president someday. Ha 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 ha. Like, no, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I'm still very confident that the Supreme Court's going to rule in favor of anchor babies, unfortunately. I just know they're going to. I just know they're going to, because Amy Coney Barrett is a pro-life liberal, basically. So she's gonna, the poor illegal kids, boo-hoo, and she's gonna rule in favor. But this clearly means that it feels like such an unnecessary amendment to even pass in the first place. It's basically saying if you're born within the borders of the United States, to citizen parents, naturalize, or you become a citizen the proper way, then. You know what I mean? Like, but they took it that it just wasn't worded to me. They worded it in a way that was going to be able to take advantage of.
Well, I think that I have it actually right now. I have the file. Let me just read it. It says, This is them as they're in the amendment process to refining how this amendment was going to be phrased, right? Mr. Howard says, and this is Mr. Howard says the First Amendment is, and not the First Amendment, but the First Amendment to the 14th Amendment, right? Is to Section 1, declaring that, quote, all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. He says, I do not propose to say anything on that subject except that the question of citizenship has been so fully discussed in this body as to not need further elucidation. So they did clearly discuss this in depth later, right? But here I skip forward a little bit, and it says, quote, this will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of persons.
Yeah.
This was specifically written to make it so that the children born to former slaves were not seen as foreigners.
Right, exactly.
That's it. It wasn't supposed to apply to anybody else. And the thing is that, like, no matter how you phrase it, people who want to violate that rule will find a way to weasel through it. It doesn't matter how you phrase it or how perfectly it's phrased in the moment. Over time, the people who want to cheat will find a way to cheat it. Even if it requires nothing more than waiting long enough for the common person to forget about the discussions that were had 100 years ago.
Yeah, that's why it was and like I know, like, the Articles of Confederation is supposed to be like the for deeper diving, go here, but unfortunately, yeah, people don't know those discussions that were had. They don't know the interpretations. Brooke, expanding on the 11th Amendment, says a citizen of South Carolina sued the state of Georgia in the U.S. Supreme Court over unpaid debts. Georgia refused to appear, and the court ruled the citizen could sue a state. The 11th Amendment was adopted to prevent similar suits. Interesting. It's an interesting one.
So the state owed a person money and the state was refusing to pay? That's a little bit complicated.
I guess what it's saying is like, if the government can't be responsible for something that they didn't have. I don't know. I'd need to know more about that one. If you have any more information about that one, Brooke. Like, if you if you owe a debt to some private enterprise in Georgia and you sue the state for or whatever the fuck, like, I guess technically it's not the state's duty.
Well, and it ties in with some of the problems with suing the police department, because the police department is not going to pay you. The state taxpayers are going to pay off the police department's debt.
Right.
So, like, I guess in a sense what you can do effectively is, because the government officials violated a rule or a law, if you sue them for compensations, in effect, you're punishing the citizenry when they didn't actually do anything wrong. Yeah, that's a slippery slope argument. So I kind of get that gray area there. But now that that's brought up, right? Maybe not across state lines, but that same spirit of the problem itself is violated, because that's kind of what we're doing right now, right? Is this thing being violated? At least like across county lines or whatever. Like I was just watching a video earlier today of an undercover federal agent who basically did a sting operation and allowed cops to violate his rights, and then he sued the police department as an agent of the Fed. He sued the police department, and the citizenry was forced to pay millions of dollars of tax funds to that Fed because his rights were violated. So like the feds sued the state because the state violated the Fed's rights, and the people had to pay for it. It gets weird.
So Brooks says under the 11th amendment, the amendment, South Carolinian could no longer sue Georgia in federal court without Georgia's consent. So Georgia could go, "Oh, you're suing us for this because this person in our state did X, Y, and Z. Yeah, that's pretty bad. We're going to allow you to sue us." Is that basically what you're saying? Chisholm versus Georgia. Chisholm. Like that John Wayne movie. Chisholm. All right, we're only on the 14th. The representatives shall be. First of all, this should be a separate amendment. It has nothing to do with this. I don't even know why it's part of the same amendment, but whatever. Representative, yeah, because they started to fucking make. Not only do they make bills that are fucking amalgamated messes, they started doing that with constitutional amendments at the 14th Amendment. These are literally, this should be unconstitutional. These are two separate things to me.
This type of thing is probably partly why 1803 happened, because this is like 1790 something, right?
Mm-hmm.
14th Amendment? No, this would be
the 11th Amendment was 1790.
Yeah. But this one is this is the 14th Amendment.
Oh, right. So we're talking about a different one now.
Right.
My bad.
So representatives shall be appointed among several states according to their representative numbers, counting the whole. So this is just like the representatives for a state, and it's completely different. Has nothing to do with this naturalizing or citizenry brackets of when shit applies to you. It makes no. And then we have a Section 3. No person.
It was an omnibus amendment, bro.
Omnibus, the first omnibus amendment. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress, or elector in president or vice president, hold on, civil under the United States, who have previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, etc., etc. So this is just more setting rules and regulations for how our government should work, or whatever the fuck. Another section. Jesus Christ! Holy shit! This is a fucking huge omnibus. Section 4: the validity of public debt of the United States law.
Wait, this one seems relevant to our subjects we talk about a lot.
Yes, it does.
Can you read it? It's fucking squiggly, bro. Or like make that shit bigger if you can. I can't read it.
The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. Shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void.
So this is about right after the Civil War. The government was trying to absorb money from the people to pay for that. And this was about basically saying those debts are valid. You guys have to pay it.
Yeah.
Section 5. The Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Okay.
So the Congress now has the authority after this to enact legislation that forces these people because there's different levels to it, right? Some of it is Congress has the ability to to create legislation that enforces, hey, that's a citizen. It also has the authority to enforce a tax that says, let's pay for, the slaves and the costs of freeing the slaves, among other things.
15th Amendment, right to vote not denied by race. I guess they technically don't break that. Income tax.
Hey, what is that? The first one that they're not violating so far? Hey.
Yeah, right? Congratulations.
Yeah, wow, we found one. We found one. Congratulations, we actually did it. Oh my god, we did it.
We found one. One for 15
shite.
so far.
So we can keep 1 through 10 and number 15. So and I guess 14 if we insert the conversation about no diplomat kids, and if we insert a caveat that says, if you fucking pay a woman to rent her womb and you're a damn Chinese national or whatever, that's not a fucking American citizen that's born. If we insert those caveats, 14 also makes sense. So
make an amendment. Got it.
So the 16th Amendment,
I'm totally fine with amendments.
They technically don't break the 16th Amendment, but the 16th Amendment breaks the Bill of Rights. So I guess technically
it needs to be amended.
Yeah, I suppose technically you could break the Bill of Rights by passing an amendment. So I guess they technically follow this one as well.
The next amendment for the Constitution is going to say there is no Constitution.
Now this one,
we amended it, so now there's no Constitution.
They technically follow the 17th Amendment as well. Here's another thing that shouldn't be an amendment because it's not. I don't believe when you vote for the senators. I think that you choose a better quality governor if he assigns the senator versus you voting for them. So now it's just. But I could see why people would want to have a say in it as well. So it is what it is. But I guess they technically don't violate it. And 18th Amendment prohibition to liquor. I guess
they violate that one, but
they violate that one with the they can violate that one with the 21st Amendment.
Actually, did you guys see maybe a week ago there was an appeals court that decided that the authority to create prohibition was never present in the government? Did you see that?
I did. Well, can you repeat that? My brain shut off.
I think it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Or at least that's when I was reading it. There was an appeals court that decided that the government itself actually does not have the authority to prohibit products.
Oh,
so
yes.
150 fucking years later,
right?
Yeah, I was telling you about it. Like maybe we should start a moonshine business because they now the idea of prohibition started with it was involving two things. One is like you can't make alcohol, you can't distill alcohol at home. And the other one is you can't sell alcohol, but the selling alcohol thing kind of got reversed, and then it was just you can't distill at home. Now, as of like 2 weeks ago, they've agreed that the Constitution effectively says that the government doesn't have the authority to stop you from distilling alcohol at home. Maybe your state is going to have a different provision against it, but who wants to start a moonshine business with me?
Oh, I think Charlie Kilo already brews his own moonshine, so. Wherever he's at, you can start it with him.
Foxtrot uniform Charlie Kilo.
Yeah, he could get the product, and you can sell it on the streets. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, you want some moonshine?
On the streets.
All right. Well, we don't need to go into the big debate about the 19th Amendment, but they technically don't violate that one either, because I guess women are allowed to vote. So that's what
it needs to be amended.
What? How would you? I agree. I don't think it's being violated. How would you suggest we amend it?
Well, there's specific wording in there that needs to be taken out because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it's kind
of. What is that picture up there?
Yeah, what is this? I don't know.
Is that part of the original thing? Oh, it's XX with a ballot.
Roman numerals.
Yeah. It's
it's
hands dropping in to look. It's showing a more effeminate hand and a more boxy hand to show equality. Right. Oh, men and women can vote. They're just retarded.
And XX is because women have the XX chromosomes. Yeah. I'm with you now. I'm tracking.
Oh man, it's so meta. Yep. I think this one.
Wait a minute. That means trannies can't vote.
Wait. Yep. Listen, folks. It says persons. But
what is a woman?
I think that again, we can get into a broader debate about who should and who shouldn't vote, but I think this is sort of redundant to the 15th Amendment of the right to vote not denied by race. Like, if we're going to go that way, then
you're saying women are a different race, huh?
But
No,
see,
well, I mean,
that's
technically,
why I said this one should be amended instead of just by race. It should also say by sex, because if you look at the 19th Amendment, it says by sex. So literally, it just needs to be amended. That's why it's like the 19th Amendment says by sex.
So you're saying you would support repealing the 19th Amendment as long as that other one was also
amended
at the same time
to include sex. Yes, I would be fine with that, because again, I do not want to lose my right to vote because I was born a fucking woman. That is stupid and asinine.
Like I said, we can get into a broader debate about it, but I don't want to do that. This is about do they listen to the amendment or not? And yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I'm just being a smartass and saying Nora just agreed to repeal the 19th.
As long as, again, an amendment is made.
I'm with you.
Because again, I want an amendment. I don't believe it's written properly anyway.
And the voting rights, the voting right in omnibus are Section 1, Section 4. But we could also talk about later down the line, like who should be voting, because there are. I would say that like a woman like Nora is smarter than your average woman, and I would rather her vote than some other women. But then there's some men that I don't want to vote either. So if there was like some sort of maybe we can brainstorm this grand scheme about what should. I know people like taxpayers. Like, no, taxation shouldn't be illegal either. So I don't want fucking just taxpayers voting. But anyway, moving on.
Only people above level 10 via Meowsod can vote.
There you go.
Yeah, only people I approve can vote. 20th Amendment, presidential term and succession. I guess they listen to that. A lot of these amendments are basically just like regulations for the government. After like the 13th Amendment, it's just
that's
like
all of them. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be.
No,
when you guys were gone, that's what I was talking about. The fucking Constitution doesn't give you any rights. It stops the government from violating your rights.
Right. So what I mean is like I think this started to transfer over like regulations on the government into instructions on how to properly run our government, because presidential terms it's not necessarily like we could get a magnanimous president and elect him multiple times, and it's like, okay, well, if he's the right person for the job, he's the right person for the job. But then it's like the government started putting constraints on themselves, not because they were doing it for the rights of the people, but it's more so like, oh, well, these are just like rules for us now. Like they sort of became regulations for us versus extra rules on how to run our government. You know what I mean? Like they started to basically give themselves regulations, but they weren't in the same vein as the earlier quote regulations. The regulations before were, how do we protect people from the government? Now it started to morph into, well, how do we run our government more efficiently?
That makes sense. Yeah, I think you're right.
What's the 23rd Amendment? Endel says repeal the 23rd. What's the 23rd?
Repeal it. Yeah, we don't really need to discuss the 21st at all. The 20th, I think we already agreed is not being violated.
Yeah, terms. So these aren't some of these almost don't have anything to do with the citizenry. It's just they're just instructions on the government. Presidential vote for DC. Oh, is that DC has a...
They're not supposed to get a vote by the original design, as evidenced by the fact that it's a fucking amendment that says they can do it now.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what? I don't understand that amendment.
Yeah, so I guess they technically don't violate it, but it shouldn't be there in the first place. So you see, the things that they don't violate are the things that shouldn't be in there. Abolition of poll taxes. I don't even know what that... Let's click on it.
Yeah, let's click
Section 1, the right of citizens of the United States to vote in any primary or other elections for president, vice president, for electors, for president or vice president, or for senator or representative in Congress shall not be denied or abridged by the United States. Okay, I guess that makes sense, but it seems
by reason of failure to pay poll taxes. So I think what year did this one pass? I think this was part of like the civil rights movement where they were charging people money to vote, thereby excluding poor people.
Okay, so it was like, listen, you want to vote on this toif, you got to pay a tax. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I might be wrong, but I think that's what it was.
Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Okay. So now, I guess I've never had anyone demand money for me.
Apparently the DC one is different than what you were thinking.
Oh, is it? What is it?
The district constituting the seat of government in the United States shall appoint in such manner Congress may direct a number of electors of president and vice president equal to the whole number of senators and representatives in Congress to which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state. They shall be in addition to those appointed by the state, but they shall be considered for the purposes of the election of president and vice president to be the electors appointed by a state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th article of amendment.
This sounds intentionally confusing.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck
It is.
it's
I was
saying.
like, wait, what?
Like, I don't even know what the hell that just said.
Me neither. By which
No.
of right of.
No, it kind of sounds like
Where's
they're
Brooke?
forcing them to make that they have to pass all the laws in DC. Like everything has to be done in DC. That's
Okay.
what I am gathering.
Which one are we reading it now?
This is the 23rd.
And what's the article 2? Congress shall... Okay, that's just... So, you must be in D.C. to do your job as somebody appointed to... okay, whatever. It's like, come into office. Come in... I don't know. They don't even follow that anyway. Some of them just have, like, Dianne Feinstein's not really there when she's voting, so... Well, she's dead now, but, you know. Presidential disability and succession... Okay. In case of removal of a president from his office or legislation, the vice president shall become president. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of vice president, the president, this is just chain of command. Again, more instructions on how the government should operate.
So 23rd is addressing the way that before 1961, people in D.C. were paying taxes and could be drafted, but they couldn't actually vote for president or vice president. So there was like a no taxation without representation issue there. And this is at least on paper, right? It's designed to address that.
Endel is saying that DC gets to have an elector in the Electoral College. DC electors have to meet in DC to do Electoral College things.
Also, like, my understanding is that people were never really supposed to be living, quote unquote, in DC. They were supposed to go there to work and then go back home.
Mm-hmm.
So the no taxation without representation is a moot point because you're not a citizen of DC. You're a visitor there doing a job. You're effectively working, not like working abroad, but like your job sent you to a remote location to do work.
Man, I'm working abroad while I'm working abroad. Whenever the president transmits... Okay, I'm not reading all these fucking things. The 25th Amendment's never actually been used, so it's kind of irrelevant.
This is the 25th? Okay.
Yeah, it's only ever used as a threat. Right to vote at 18. So what were people voting at before? 12? Like, the right to citizens 18 years of age. See, this, I would be in favor of increasing this one to like 21 or 25, because if they're going to have this extended adolescence where we want fucking teenagers to be kids longer, then they're not adults at 18 anymore. So they're more like adults at 21 or 25.
Well, that's I mean, I don't disagree with that statement as a raw thing, but I do think that using that as a guideline to build future rule sets is a problem, because your fucking children being retarded at 24 is a problem, and you need to address that. You know?
I guess what I'm saying is you have a lot of bleeding hearts who turn 18 and they're like, oh, it's not right that capitalism does X, Y, and Z, and then they vote for some retarded shit, and the Democrats will placate them doing retarded things, and then like that's a part of the voting wing that's a problem as well. So
yeah,
I don't know if there's a way to fix
that,
and I don't necessarily think that making it go to 24.
Homeschool your kids.
Well, yeah, but that's a broad suggestion that maybe not everyone can do, but regardless, increasing it to 25, and then we like fix the way the world works, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, 18-year-olds are smart again, but I guess in the interim they're not smart at all.
So I mean, like the guys that wrote the Constitution were like 20, 22, 24. Some of them were a little older, but most of them were like, we would consider them young and dumb and too dumb to actually make sound decisions if they were alive today under today's school system paradigm. But I think that the problem is if we don't let them vote until they're 28, 29, 30, whatever, they now have more of an opportunity to become brainwashed before they actually get a vote in. We used to have people that were 14 years old ruling nations. Like, this is stupid. It's a slippery slope that leads to the destruction of a nation. We need to address the educational system rather than just sort of like complying with the idea that these people at this age are too dumb and we can't do anything about it. We need to fix the thing that is making them too dumb. We've been spending $10,000 per student on average per year to keep them too stupid to understand how to vote by 18. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but we're dwarfing how everybody's advancing. Look at a 24-year-old 200 years ago versus a 24-year-old today.
Yeah.
You know, it's complete night and day.
When this nation was founded, 16, 17 years old, you were looking at marriage and having kids, and by 18, 19, you already had a full understanding of what it takes to run your own farm, run your own business, take care of yourself, feed yourself, and you recognized who was trying to screw you over when. Like, we've broken the whole idea of raising a functioning society, and that was on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
And the 27th Amendment, congressional compensation, again.
Give them nothing. Give them nothing. They've been fucking cheating us their entire life. And matter of fact, most of them should have all of their property fucking taken back and applied to the national debt.
How about they give it back to us? Yes.
There you go. So I guess after a while they do listen to the amendments, because after a while the amendments just basically became, rules and regulations for themselves versus protecting the rights of the citizens.
There used to be our rules on them, and then it became their rules on themselves, which ties back to what we were saying earlier, where as soon as you have definitively codified the rule, you've also left space between the rules that you can now navigate between, and you technically didn't violate the rule.
Yep.
Hey, next time can we rewrite them so we can like spread it around, going, hey, no, these are the amendments. This is how it needs to go down, and then somehow, some way, it magically gets to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan looks at it and goes, okay, this actually makes sense, and then hands it to the fucking president, and it actually will get done.
Dude,
and then we get invited to go on his show? No.
I would be fine with that.
How'd you guys think of this? How'd you guys think of this?
Make a competent list of amendments and how we're going to rectify this, and let's do it. Because
by the way,
I'm
here,
serious.
have Slab again.
Oh, wait, that I guess that's a piece of news that we can announce. But first, make sure you like and subscribe and follow and repost, and let us know what you feel about the amendments as well in the comments.